Hey guys, picture this. A quiet university basement suddenly turns into a full-on prison nightmare, where regular college kids start acting like absolute monsters. Back in 1971, psychologist Philip Zimbardo wanted to dig deep into human nature and launched the Stanford Prison Experiment. He recruited 24 guys, split them into guards and prisoners, and locked them in a fake jail right there in the basement. Guards got batons, sunglasses, khaki uniforms. Prisoners got handcuffs, smocks, and numbers instead of names. Everything started chill until day 2. Bam! Guards began humiliating prisoners, making them do push-ups on the filthy floor, waking them up in the middle of the night screaming, stripping them naked for inspections. One prisoner completely broke after just 36 hours, sobbing, screaming, begging to be let out. Zimbardo planned 2 full weeks, but they had to shut it down after only 6 days because things got way too dangerous. And here's the craziest part. Zimbardo himself was playing the role of the prison superintendent and completely lost his objectivity, letting the chaos spiral. This thing blew minds worldwide. It showed how fast power can turn decent people into tyrants. They even made a movie about it in 2015, and psychology classes still dissect it today. Oh, and remember the Abu Ghraib scandal in 2004 when American soldiers were abusing Iraqi prisoners? A ton of people pointed straight back to Stanford and said, "See, the situation turns normal people into monsters."
Okay, now let's talk about total isolation, locking someone alone and watching their mind slowly unravel. In 1962, French speleologist Michel Siffre climbed down into a freezing cave in the French Alps and stayed there for 63 days. No clock, no sunlight, just a dim lamp and canned food. He wanted to see how the body keeps time without any outside cues. At first, he was logging everything like a pro. Then, boom, his days stretched to 36 hours. He'd sleep 14 hours straight, stay awake for 22, completely lost track of day and night. Hallucinations kicked in hard, giant spiders crawling on the walls, phantom footsteps echoing in the dark. When the rescue team finally pulled him out, he was convinced only 33 days had passed. He was off by a whole month. That 1962 experiment completely changed how scientists understood our internal clocks. Then, in 1972, he went even crazier. 6 months underground in a Texas cave at constant 70 degrees Fahrenheit. Came out with his sleep totally wrecked, and NASA ate up every bit of data for long-duration space missions. Imagine months in pitch-black silence. Your brain just starts rewriting reality. Fun fact, in 1989, an Italian woman, Stefania Follini, did 131 days solo in a cave and thought only 2 months had gone by. Our minds are way more fragile than we think.
What happens when you isolate not one person, but a whole group? In 1991, in the Arizona desert, 8 people stepped inside Biosphere 2, this massive glass dome meant to be a self-contained mini-Earth. They were going to live there for 2 years, grow their own food, recycle air and water, no outside help. Pure sci-fi dream. Until reality hit. 3 months in, oxygen levels crashed to dangerous lows. Plants started dying, food ran short. People were literally gasping for air and fighting over the last banana. In 1992, they had to break quarantine to bring in oxygen and medical supplies. One guy even broke his finger and had to leave for surgery. The group split into 2 hostile camps that basically hated each other's guts. The whole project cost around $200 million, but by the time they stumbled out in 1993, everyone realized closed systems plus human egos equals disaster waiting to happen. They tried round 2 in 1994, same story, drama, sabotage, collapse. Living in paradise and turning it into a pressure cooker with your own hands, that's Biosphere 2.
Now, let's talk about using fear as a weapon to control behavior. This one's intense. In 1961 at Yale, Stanley Milgram ran the infamous obedience experiment. Participants thought they were helping with a memory study. Every time the learner, who was actually an actor, got a word wrong, they had to press a button and deliver an electric shock starting at 15 volts all the way to a terrifying 450. The learner screamed, begged, said his heart was hurting, but 65% of people kept going all the way to the max just because a guy in a white coat said, "Please continue." Milgram was trying to understand why so many normal Germans followed orders during the Holocaust. One participant was sweating, shaking, laughing nervously, but he still kept pressing the button because the experiment requires that you continue. Mind-blowing. In 1963, Milgram tweaked it when the authority figure gave orders over the phone instead of standing right there. Obedience dropped to just 20%. By 1974, the experiment was so controversial it got banned for ethical reasons. Yet in 2009, a French TV show replicated it, and 80% still went all the way. Authority is a hell of a drug. One of the darkest early examples, the Little Albert experiment in 1920, psychologist John Watson took a happy 9-month-old baby and conditioned him to fear white rats. Show the rat, bang a steel bar right behind the kid's head. After just a few pairings, Albert would burst into tears at the sight of anything white and furry, rabbits, dogs, even Santa Claus's beard. Watson wanted to prove fears are learned, not innate, building on Pavlov's dogs from 1897. But they never bothered to uncondition the poor kid. Albert probably carried those phobias for life. Back in the 1920s, ethics barely existed. Watson actually got fired from his university later over a completely different scandal. Imagine taking an innocent baby and deliberately traumatizing him for science. That kind of thing helped spark child protection rules in research by the 1930s. In 2010, researchers finally tracked down who little Albert probably was. He died young in 1925 from hydrocephalus, but his story still haunts every psych textbook. Closed social experiments can snowball into mini dictatorships super fast. Take the third wave in 1967. High school history teacher Ron Jones in Palo Alto wanted to show his class how fascism could rise so easily. Day 1, strict discipline, new salute. Motto, strength through discipline. Kids loved it, sat straighter, paid attention. Day 3, they started ratting out friends who broke rules, making posters, recruiting like crazy. The movement exploded from 30 students to over 200 in less than a week. Jones saw teenagers losing themselves in the feeling of belonging and power. On day 5, he called an assembly, promised a big speech from the leader, then rolled a film about Hitler. The room went dead silent. They realized they'd basically become Nazis in 5 days. True story. It inspired the book and TV movie The Wave in 1981 and a German remake in 2008. Former students later said, "It felt amazing until we saw what we'd become." Group pressure is terrifyingly powerful.
Isolation plus overcrowding equals total breakdown. Check out Universe 25 by John Calhoun in 1968. He built a mouse utopia. Unlimited food, water, nesting material, no predators. Started with 4 breeding pairs. Population exploded to 2,200 by 1970. Then everything collapsed. Females abandoned babies, males fought to the death. A whole class of beautiful ones appeared. Passive mice who just ate, slept, and groomed themselves, ignoring sex and society completely. By 1973, the entire colony was extinct, even though resources were still everywhere. Calhoun called it the behavioral sink. He ran the experiment 25 times, same ending every single time. In the early 1970s, people looked at crowded cities like New York and said, "This is where we're headed." His work shaped urban planning debates for decades. Paradise plus too many bodies equals behavioral apocalypse.
Wrapping this up, these wild experiments scream one thing. The human mind is like nitroglycerin. One wrong move and boom. In 1938, Orson Welles did a radio play of War of the Worlds and accidentally caused nationwide panic. Thousands of people thought Martians were really invading, called the police, hid in basements. Not a lab experiment, but it proved how fear can hijack entire populations in minutes. Since the 1940s, we've had ethics boards watching every study like hawks. But think about it. Your social media feed, your office politics, even pandemic lockdowns, aren't those mini social experiments too? In the 2020s, millions of people lost their minds being stuck at home. Would you have lasted as a prisoner or turned into a guard? Next video, we're diving into how science is trying to fix the messes we make. See you there.